Hello everyone, happy Sunday, and welcome to the last two chapters of Your Body Speaks Your Mind. And, oh, my printer started going off. I think it'll turn off in a second, sorry. I just printed a packing slip, shipping some stuff out. So let me just make sure I'm live here in the group. And the printer is off, that's good. Let me know if you're here, and going to be joining me to talk about chapter 17 and 18. Chapter 17 is all about the ears and the eyes. So similar to the following chapters, each of these chapters dives a little bit more into the emotional root of these different symptoms. Some of them are named by specific disease, where they're showing up in the body, and then what that potentially may mean for us. So, for the eyes and ears, difficulties to do with sight and sound are linked to repressed emotion, fear, or a rejection of the outside world and preference for a private inner world. Let me know if you've personally experienced any symptoms within the eyes or ears, and then which side. For me, I haven't had so much issue with the ears, but I had a lot of issues with my left eye about two or 3 years ago. And I noticed that on page 312, it says left side represents more emotional and personal issues. And I had heard this one before, because when I was having these eye issues, my energy healer told me that the eye and the blurriness in the eye, and I actually was losing vision in my left eye, is to do with this harsh reality, not wanting to accept the truth, not wanting to see something in front of you. And at the time, I was open to that being true, but I just couldn't figure out what it was. And so later on, I still didn't totally put a pinpoint on it, but I look back at that point in my life and I think about where I was and some of the truths that I was trying to kind of digest, and how they felt really challenging in my body, and how that may have showed up in my eye, along with some of the physical stuff. So I also was having some liver issues, which liver and eye are also tend to show up together. So if you aren't seeing clearly, this may be this lack of comfort, discomfort with what you see. This vision may become distorted in order to make what is in front of you more acceptable. So it's you are kind of denying not wanting to accept what is in front of you. I thought it was really interesting on page 313 that they also talked about children with distorted eyesight being wrongly given glasses to correct it. That's something I never considered. I was prescribed glasses in 3rd grade, and curious if you guys have been prescribed glasses, and then whether you're nearsighted or farsighted, because she also goes into that. I'm personally nearsighted, and so I was looking at this and just trying to figure out if it is what I resonate with personally. This is page 313 as well. Desire to contract or retreat, trauma, emotional upset, future appearing fearful, overwhelming, introverted, shy personality, quiet, withdrawn, perhaps obsessed with details. But inside, there's this rich, imaginative inner life. So in my case, I was actually really shy in elementary school. In beginning of middle school too. I kind of started to come out of my shell in 8th grade, but I definitely resonate with this kind of wanting to turn inward, not really wanting to be seen. I was super self-conscious. I was afraid of being wrong, and I was afraid of getting picked on or made fun of, and so definitely resonate with the nearsightedness here, and kind of trying to retreat and hide and feeling like life was really intense. Now, I personally wear contact lenses every day now. I have glasses that I'll wear mostly in the evenings, but I think about some of my family members and close friends who choose to wear glasses over contact lenses, and at least in my case and the people that I know, I really resonated or saw this within them, which is this like glasses being a shield and this feeling like they may be exposed without their glasses on, and what they're seeing potentially being upsetting, and wanting to shield themselves a little bit from the world with these glasses. So found that super interesting as well. And Deb Shapiro goes on to tell us many more interesting things. Tears are the most obvious, right? They're wonderful healing and essential release of repressed energy. So the issue becomes when you don't release your tears, because they're helping to cleanse and protect the eyes. When you're holding it in, that's when you might have some issues with your tear ducts, or this feeling of overwhelm within you because you're not letting out those emotions. Ears, similar, except for it's like, instead of not wanting to see what's in front of you, it's not wanting to hear maybe what's being said in front of you. And then also there's this connection with ears too, and this equilibrium, because they help us stay balanced, and this finding the center within you. So listening to inner voice, owning your own needs, listening to your feelings, tuning in without fear within the ears. And then she breaks it down even more. And then chapter 18 to me was very interesting, because I have a lot of mental illness in my family, and I have a lot of personal opinions and beliefs on our mental health system and the way that mental health is treated. And I think that this is a little outdated, possibly. On page 324, she starts talking about depression. I think that this book has been updated, but maybe when it was first written, times were a little different. But especially because she says, like, by the year 2020, which now is only 2 years away, and she writes that major depression will be the second most debilitating disease worldwide by 2020. Being depressed is the most unsung source of suffering in the world. It is a disease of the soul, and chemicals alone cannot heal it. And that I completely agree with and resonate with. I think that the part that I was kind of struggling with within this chapter was that she talked about the chemical imbalances in the brain and how antidepressants can, fix that. And I think now we know that that serotonin is a myth and is a false representation of what depression is this imbalance of serotonin, and it's so much more. And now we're seeing that it's more related to inflammation, and then we have big people who are speaking out, big people as in big-hearted, big voices, like Dr. Kelly Brogan, and she does acknowledge that antidepressants are not a cure. And so I just thought that there could be more in this section as far as what are the deeper roots of depression. She does write that it's a loss of life energy. These feelings are being repressed, that you may feel unworthy or unlovable or lonely or misunderstood, layers of shame and guilt, sexual abuse, dominating or demanding parents, loss of a loved one, broken relationship with buried hurt, anger, or rage. And so I'd be really curious to know how many of you listening now or to the replay also struggle with depression and feel safe saying that in this group, and if you ever considered what the root of it may be for you. She goes also into some nervousness and anxiety, and personally, I don't struggle with depression, but I do struggle immensely with anxiety, and the section was teeny tiny, so I was like, I want more. But it's she talks about it being a cycle of tension in the body, which I certainly can relate to, and then, that anxiety can lead to panic attacks, and panic attacks are often when we live in that state of fear, and that sympathetic nervous system clicks on, and we have physical then sensations in the body that follow that and can feel really scary. Yeah. She talks about bipolar disorder as well, and I really enjoyed the section on addiction as well. There's a lot of addiction in both sides of my lineage and family, And I definitely had this personal opinion of it being this drowning out the world, trying to escape the world. And that's a lot of what Deb writes too, is that trying to distract yourself from what's really going on. And then I love how she broke down kind of, you can be addicted to anything, right? But then she breaks down more specifically, alcohol makes you feel like everything's fine. Cigarettes enable you to swallow your feelings. Drugs take you into a different world where you don't have to deal with the reality of this one, maybe giving you a false sense of grandeur. Whereas food replaces love that you crave and smooths over the cracks in your life. All of these things, all of these addictions are numbing the pain inside. They are altering our consciousness in some cases, or filling an inner emptiness. And so addictions are kind of hiding these deeper issues that have not yet surfaced, or that maybe feel super scary to confront or allow to surface. And again, those deeper causes could be so many different things for all of us. External pressures, financial difficulties, emotional traumas, growing up in a stressful environment, emotional, physical abuse, so many different things that is unique to each of us and our lives and what we've been through. So she doesn't have any cures for these things yet, but maybe that's for all of us to take into, start to brainstorm on our own. We're seeing medicine change. We're seeing the healthcare system change. We're seeing people acknowledge the emotional root of illness and not just what physical things are going on in the body. When I gave a talk earlier this week, I talked about the subtle energy body that surrounds you, and how when those parts of you are imbalanced or there's energetic distortions in your energy body, then it shows up as the physical. And I think Deb also mentioned this in the beginning of the book, which was a whole 300 or so pages ago, so I can't remember exactly, but she talked about these things, these emotional things that kind of layer on top of each other until eventually they do show up in a physical symptom or as disease. And so we each have our own power, we each have our own ability to rewrite the story, to change the story, to allow these things to surface, to open ourselves up to more than just pills and medication and you know, the ER, right? We can open ourselves up to many other pathways to healing now, and there's more and more coming into our world and becoming options for us, like energy medicine, like different modalities of therapy, and much more. We have Reiki, crystal healing, there's intuitive healing, there's Akashic record healing. Oh my gosh, I could go on. So that wraps up this book. I loved this book. I think Deb is a gem, and this book should be read by all practitioners because it's so beautiful to understand that there can be an emotional root to illness, there can be a physical root to illness, or maybe it's a little bit of both. So I really will be using this book as a practitioner in my practice and with my clients, and maybe I'll get to meet Deb someday. I would love to do that because she sounds amazing. All right, guys, thank you so much for reading this book along with me, and I'll keep you guys updated on the future of Autoimmune Tribe Book Club. This was our 5th or 6th book, so we're rocking it. Thank you so much for joining along, and I'll talk to you guys all soon.